And you're welcome to join in on the discussion. 011-542-2186. Lakite Kisho is human rights lawyer and deputy president of Transform RSA. Good evening to you, and thanks so much for joining us, Lakite Kisho. I mean, this is a debate that, you know, you can't separate culture and how intricately it's embedded in our biology as a people. So if you're going to now have this subliminal sort of ad to provoke debate, it goes beyond that. It really borders on racism.
No, that's true. Given our history, it's clear that we still pain, some of us. You know, whenever such things as this are coming up, it really created serious problems for us. Now, we think that the fact that they have apologized for this advert. It clearly means that there is an element of conceding liability. Now, because this has been happening for a very long time, we would propose that perhaps we need to deal with the law, and some harsh punishment must really be given out now, because this is not for the first time, but they are also not the only ones. But then it means we need to really come up with a precedent-setting punishment that will be able to show them that now we are serious with this type of adverts that are undermining the dignity of black people, and using the act called the Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act that can be able to guide us further. And we as Transform RSA, we have agreed and resolved that we are going to open up a case at the Equality Court, so that we must not leave this thing to die down, you know. They must account, but in an appropriate fora. And if they are found to be wanting, then they must be punished.
So you're saying that the creative team, there is no way of explaining this beyond what most of us have interpreted it to be, that of undermining a particular race group that we know had been segregated and excluded from economic participation, deliberately, you know, being subjected to a life of obscurity. But let's come back to what you're arguing around inequality or discrimination, where some could argue that this is an advertising gimmick, use a shock tactic. So people talk about it and therefore the brand is top of mind.
Yes, we think that when you look at it in that instance, it really talks about maximum profiteering, you know. They are doing this brand in a manner that will make maximum profit for them, because really it will call people. But that's as opposed to ethical branding. But when you look at maximum profiteering, it must be also lawful. It must be legal. It must not try and undermine other races, for instance. In this instance, it's very clear, and we all agree that what it does, it tries to undermine black people, you know, and we have a problem with that. And if it does that, it's correct for us to call for it to ensure that these things must not continue. We call for it to stop and be terminated, but that's not enough. That's not enough also for us to say, no, we must ban their products, because people will continue buying. Like
right,
your car in Bao, they will like buying these things.
Let's see if Nick in Mabopane agrees that they'll continue supporting the brand, or whether this indeed has gone overboard in racial profiling. We'll come to you, Mbali, in Soweto as well. We start with Nick. Good evening to you. Hi, Nick. All right, let's move to Mbali in Soweto. Good evening to you, Mbali. Hi, yes, I can hear you.
Ngiyabonga. It does. Lento yenzayo ayikho yintsha. We have seen a lot of soap companies trying to sell their soap by undermining blackness and promoting whiteness as the ultimate standard of beauty, which is why sibona odadewethu abaningi beyidayisa to older men in order to get other symbols that would make them more white, which is propagated in this society as superiority, as ukuba ngcono.
Yeah, but
So
Mbali,
it
you don't think
doesn't
like for skin bleaching and skin lightening, that it's their choice, it's their prerogative if they want to look a particular way? You're saying that there are undertones psychologically why somebody would choose to be different from the way they were born.
exactly. It is psychological, Mama, because we are not aware of such. It is propagated in the things that we see daily. You know, even the adverts in JSE that I'm not going to mention. They are using the same tactic as Dove, only that it does in this instance has been overt about it, you know, because blackness in J is being propagated to be something as bad as the plague, you know. In order to be better, you're supposed to be light this, light that, and it has just been overt about it in J.
Thank you so much, Mbali. Saying that we perpetuate, or at least Dove in this advert, and likening being black as having a plague. You know, in democratic South Africa, you're still having these debates on what constitutes, what is the barometer of beauty. We have Benjamin in Cape Town. Good evening to you. Hi, Benjamin.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you? I'm black and beautiful.
Thank you so much. We're actually tired of these racist things happening in South Africa. I think the government needs to relook into their laws now, because we can't keep on commenting every day on the racist issues, and the government is doing nothing. These companies, why didn't they put a white lady at first and the black lady at last? So they're trying to undermine our race as blacks. So those people must face a full mighty of law. They must explain why were they doing that. We are tired of these things, actually.
Benjamin, thanks so much. And for me, that's what I need to sort of clear in my head to say, as a creative as well, sometimes you push the boundaries, you push the envelope, as you've seen with examples like the Nando's ad using satire to communicate a particular message that is relevant within a landscape, you know, in the tapestry of what South Africa is going through. They've gotten away with it. But this one, I couldn't reconcile that, you know, maybe if they played the Michael Jackson Black or White song in the background, you know, you'd sing along to it and understand what the connotations were. But in this case, you think this is racial profiling? Yeah,
no, clearly. There's no doubt about it. It's, white is beautiful, black is ugly. That's what it means. As simple as that. But I think I like to speak more on, you know, what is to be done. You know, these things have been happening. Our government has been trying. There is a law that is now supposed to come very soon that is called hate speech and racism legislation. But you see, these things are taking long, very long, and they might take another 2 years before they are implemented. But what do we do currently now as we speak? Because these things are continuing. That's why we as the Aris Transformation for Aris, we are saying, let's take this thing to court, because there is a space for us to do that now at the Equality Court. And we intend to do that so that when they are found guilty, they must be found guilty within the legal framework. And when they are found guilty, then harsh sentence or punishment or sanction must be given. And we want them to be able to feel, and a precedent must be set that the country will never, ever allow such type of things to happen. So that when these people are dealing with this branding, they must know that when they want to profile people in the manner in which is happening, there will be consequences.
Yeah. All right, we'll come and talk about the role of the Advertising Standard Bureau and what other instruments of law can be used to not only deter companies from this kind of practice, but so that they understand the market in which that they operate in and the sensitivities that are at play. Let's go to Lesija in Hammanskraal and Mangoba. We'll come to you next. Lesija, akhe lekai?
How are you doing?
Re papa, mpona kere ke montle. And I can very kiss it down, by the way, just for the record. So what's your comment or question?
Cindy, this is an issue where companies that as black people we are being exploited, and they are doing it for profit reasons, whereas they can even identify that our leadership has let us down as consumers and as people. Because we're living at a time whereas we need to better equip ourselves mentally as black people. we should be more proud of who we are instead of relying on such companies to try and emphasize in terms of their profit margin. So this is an issue where else it's continuing from all other these new businesses, whereas it's up until us black people that we rise, that we do our own things, that we can identify perceptually who we are.
I
we need to
appreciate that.
accept ourselves.
I couldn't agree with you more, Lesija, that the debate and argument is not just on what we consume in terms of products, but it's also almost fighting for your existence and your relevance in corporate South Africa or whichever echelons of power and society you find yourself in. Thanks indeed for that. And we have Bangoba in Johannesburg. Good evening.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm super. You saw yellow today. Have you been using that lately?
Oh, touche. This is I'm a yellow bone. Yeah. And what's your comment or question?
What's happening here? Let's not mix emotions and racism, Our sisters have been bleaching their skins, and I've never heard even a white person complaining, saying, why you want to be us? Or why you want to be like us. So now, because Dove have the certain target market to say, you know what, I'm helping you sisters out. Since you want to be yellow, let me actually put a catalyst so that you can quickly reach the equilibrium that you want to reach. Now we are reacting. The problem is that we've got a lot of esteem in ourselves. That's the problem with us. We can't stand what we started. So let's not react in the Dove issue. Dove has just promoted, or they are promoting their product. Let's just be cool, because we started it. We said we wanted to be white. So now they are giving us a catalyst and solution to say, you know what, since you want to be white, let me help you.
Well, Mangoba, that's another spin to the whole debate, in the sense that the dynamic needs to be more introspective and admit to the fact that Abu hydroquinone and Abu ambi, whatever it is that were used by our parents and mothers in particular to lighten their skin, is perhaps where the white marketers have seen a niche, that there is a need for this particular product. So if you put it in their face, it's something that could be acceptable. In your view, Lucky?
Yes, I think what will be wrong if these white guys do the very same thing, and for them to be this type of color that we have, I'm saying what is wrong if they are white and then they will also they use the same things that will make them darker.
As in tanning lotion.
Yes, I'm saying what's wrong with that? Why should it always be us black wanting to be white,
But Mangoba makes the point, Uguti, the creative process, it's merely highlighting already an inferiority complex that black people generally have demonstrated, notwithstanding our past, where you were vilified, you were told black isn't good enough, your nose is flat or too wide, or you are baboon, whatever other tags have been used in that racial connotations. But we need to own it. I think that's the argument.
Yes, and I agree. But I think what must happen then, it must be a comprehensive education for our people. Our people must understand and like themselves as they are. It will help us if this our people, but it's education, education, education. For them to be able to understand that there's nothing wrong with them to be black. And I think the majority of them will not be able to do these things if they can really understand what's the connotation, what's the narrative behind this thing.
What does that talk about black consciousness? And I think the understanding of who we are, embracing our culture, our language, our mannerisms, our rite of passage, and defending that, so that even a product like Dove would not find a place to even come up with these kind of offensive messages and simply give a willy-nilly apology on social media.
That's quite correct. But you see, the other problem that we are faced with is the system that was taken from apartheid, and all of us were assimilated into the current system that is there. Remember, the system is a system of apartheid that came long ago. We did not change any system. What we did, we just came into the system and we bettered it here and there, and we continue with it. So our mind is still entrenched into that system that is so wrong for us to be able to follow. Perhaps what we need to look at is the system must be changed. The entire system, including the judiciary, the economic system, everything must be changed. And perhaps if we can change the system that is currently regulating our lives as a whole, perhaps something might be be better off. But
All right,
for now, the system is messing us up.
Tebogo in Olifantsfontein and Alex in Durban, Zama and KZN. In that order, we'll start with Tebogo. Hello to you. Hi, Tebogo. Okay, I can just hear a bit of mumbling there, Tebogo. We're going to have to go. Hi, there you are. How are you?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, you see, we are like a people. Yeah, I say we are like a people who are given mops to wipe water that is dripping from a tap. So as long as we don't close that tap, it means we will never try this water. So my point is that genocide was committed in this country. And since genocide was committed, none of those who committed that genocide was ever arrested. And until we do that, we'll never get right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Tebogo. Alex in Durban, good evening to you.
Good evening, ma'am. How are you?
I'm black and beautiful.
I'm good, thank you. I'm also black and handsome.
Amandla.
Yes. I don't have a big problem with these companies doing that. But we lack in the way of sorting them out. If we were to come together and show the power of how to control people who does things similar to what Dove is doing, because it's not only Dove, it's many companies. Even here in Durban, we see these things daily happening. But we Africans or black people, we lack the unity. And then how to tell these people what we want and how we want it. If I've read this book called Capitalist Nigger, it talks about Jews that if you insult them, they will buy the company and they will fire you from their company. If we can use such power as united people and buy those companies that undermines us, and then remove those people with that attitude, we will have a clean place to live, and we'll never have such things happening anywhere, and then we have to complain, and then it carries on, somebody else is doing it, because we have the power, but we don't know how to use it.
And definitely a must-read by Chika Onyeni, Capitalistic Nigger. Thank you so much for that, Alex. And our behavior, taking ownership as well on how we allow the rest of the world to perceive us, to treat us as a black people. Zaman KZN, good evening to you.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm very well, my queen. How are you doing?
I'm fabulous. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. What's your perspective?
I'm definitely agreeing with Alex as to what he said, that we definitely do have the power, but we just do not know how to use it. And to further on, put onto the points of this whole debacle that has happened, I just want to know, where were the focus groups as well within these companies? Because we know in the advertising industry, there is not a level at which these campaigns have to be approved by, and there's just like an intense study and research that goes in within these campaigns before it even goes out to the public. So my question is that, where were the focus groups? Because they need to know as to how will people react to these type of things, so that they can avoid these type of situations that are happening.
Yeah, I mean, Zama, sorry to break your word, but I mean, look at this whole notion that black people have to sing for their supper in most of their adverts.
Exactly.
And I particularly have a pet peeve around funeral policies as opposed to education policies or even life covers being marketed to largely black people. So there's a lot in this space that you're saying we can intervene and be proactive in how we want to be represented as consumers. Yeah, thanks so much for that. Legally, there's brown sense. There are attempts to try and change the complexion of the economy. There are attempts to grow industries, to take away from the monopoly, as it were. So your next step, you're saying equality court, then what? What is the objective or the outcome that you anticipate?
Yeah, of course. I think one of the other issues is that we need to also have a campaign that talks really about boycotting Unilever. Because Unilever is the ones that are owning this type of of soap. But what is also important, and I want to say it again, is that we're always reacting. You know, we are reacting, and the reason for us to react, to be honest, is because we are regulated by a previously apartheid system. Because the system is there, and it has been there for years, and it comes with us. Now what we do, we react to it. You know, we change it here and there, but the system is there. And that's why our minds are colonized, because we can't go out of that system. We are regulated by the system. Now, what needs to happen is to say, unfortunately, our government is choking, you know, because the government must lead us in terms of the direction that we need to take in terms of this type of things. But they are choking, to be honest. But we as people, perhaps what we need to do is use whatever we have in terms of the campaigning, but also the equality code that we can do.
But how effective, I've seen on various platforms by Black SA, Black Professionals Forum, Progressive, etc., decolonization, are these only acting in silos so that marketers are better informed before you put a product out there? Number one, be cognizant of the history of this country. I think it was Tebo who said nobody atoned or even was held accountable for the genocide of apartheid. We swiftly just moved along. And then there's another one, Uzama, that says, you know, we need to come up with our own solutions as opposed to being only driven as consumers.
Yes, I think one of the concerns are that we are working in silos. We might have the same commitment to transform, but we are each and everyone does his own thing. So what we need to do is also to come together and strategize together to have a unifying, more value-adding type of a plan or action that we need to take. Because if we as Transform RSA are saying that, no, this is what is going to happen, we don't know the others. So we need to call this meeting and say, this is what we are going to do as black people. And perhaps we can have more strength.
Yeah, you spoke about Unilever and the over-reliance on monopoly as well. So if you don't buy Dove, there's so many other brands under the same umbrella. They don't feel the pinch because you're bound to spend money on an alternative product.
Yeah, and also we must be able to ensure that our black brothers must be able to go into the industries and be able to open up these firms so that we must support them. But first and foremost, we must be able to break these cartels, you know, into pieces, and so that these people of us must be supported. The black industries must be able to also get support from us. But all of this will be a dream if we are not going to coordinate our action as black structures.
Lucky, we're going to have to leave it there. That's Lucky Tegisho. He is a human rights lawyer and also Deputy President of Transform RSA. Thanks so much for your calls. Really appreciate it for taking the effort. We'll check in with the weather and take a quick break. We'll see you thereafter.